Thank you, Ms. Bernal, and congratulations. I now have the pleasure of introducing our second 2025 recipient of the César Chávez Award for Exemplary Community Service, Roxanne Carrillo Garza. Throughout her lifetime of service, Roxanne Carrillo Garza has demonstrated her commitment to the core values modeled by César Chávez. As the Senior Director of Healthy Contra Costa, Roxanne excels at collaboration. She works with resident leaders, community-based organizations, and system leaders to create advocacy strategies to improve health, safety, school, and neighborhood environments. All of her efforts lead to economic development opportunities for all county residents. Prior to joining HCC in 2013, Roxanne worked for Contra Costa Health Services, where she focused on environmental justice, alcohol policy, neighborhood improvements, and violence prevention. She worked for LA United Way and El Nido Family Services, a social service nonprofit that provides counseling and family support services to disadvantaged communities in LA County. She holds a bachelor's from Cal State Northridge, and she earned her master's in social welfare from UCLA. Roxanne learned about social justice issues from her mother, who was a public health nurse, and her father, who was an artist and elected union leader. Her dedication to addressing inequities also stems from her leadership experience as a single mom having to navigate public services to support her family. She also fights hard for those most in need. During the pandemic, she served on the county's COVID vaccine ethical and equity vaccine allocation committee and led efforts to increase access to COVID testing and vaccination services. With a commitment to equity and justice and teaching tolerance, Roxanne has made a positive impact in the lives of many. She serves as a member of the Contra Costa County Racial Justice Coalition and plays a key role in establishing the DPCCC's Equity, Anti-Racism, and Justice Committee, which she chairs. Roxanne and her CC team have facilitated many coalitions, such as the hashtag #OneContraCosta, Immigrant Health Alliance, and the Access to Quality Healthcare Action Team, whose goals center on ensuring quality and affordable healthcare to all county residents, regardless of immigration status, income, background, gender, or age. Roxanne works hard to break down systemic barriers that many people face in achieving fair access. Through her role as the chair of the Measure and Community Advisory Board, and through her Healthcare and Budget Justice Coalition advocacy, she fights to make the county budget process more transparent and pushes for ways that community members can provide meaningful input into county services. Please join me in applauding Roxanne Carrillo Garza for her selection as a recipient of the 2025 César Chávez Award for Exemplary Community Service. Congratulations, Roxanne.
Well, I have to say that it's just humbling to be here and humbling to see the young leaders that are in our midst. I know that our community is in good hands with you. Thank you to Los Medanos College and President Dr. Pamela Ralston for the honor of receiving this award. I just love your spirit, by the way. I'm deeply humbled. And thank you to my friend and colleague, Diana Honig, for nominating me. In our fight for justice. As I stand here at Los Medanos College, I remember being a high school student, fighting to get into classes to prepare me for college. My parents advocated for me since I didn't fit the profile for college readiness in my community. At times, I felt isolated as the only Latina in classes, but my parents talked to me about standing up for myself. It's because of this and many other life experiences that I was called to leadership to change how resources get to communities that have been historically marginalized. Regional families face multiple issues, such as under-resourced educational systems, income disparities driven by wage theft, and many barriers to build generational wealth. My parents lived these dynamics. I learned from my father the importance of fighting for worker rights through union organizing. And my mamacita, Virginia Carrillo, who is here tonight, the power of serving my community. She worked hard to become a nurse, attending a local occupational school to get her LVN, and went on to community college to become a registered nurse at a time where there were very few bilingual nurses. She faced discrimination in pursuit of that degree. At the time, I was a high school student, and it modeled for me that I needed to persevere in a society, and that was back in the 70s and 80s, that would constantly question my place at the table. Thank you, Mamacita, for teaching me the value of courage. It was that courage that led me to go to college, where I fell in love with political science. I took all the GEs, and when I got to poli-sci classes, I was like, this is my tribe. And then I later pursued a social work degree and focused on policy advocacy. As César Chávez once said, grant me the courage to serve others, for in service, there is true life. I continue to learn, experience challenges, celebrate policy wins at the county and city level, and I've done my best to turn my courage into public service as I organize, so thank you for organizing too, and lift up the voices of residents and grassroots organizations. I fought for immigrants who have the same human right for health care. I fought for Latino, AAPI, and African American communities that should have equal access to services and education. So, these are dark times, and everyone in this room will need to support one another in the coming days to fight for the dignity of working families in our communities. We will need to activate our neighbors and our friends to fight for the rights of immigrants who have always been the backbone of our country, but face barriers everywhere they turn. We will have to fight for refugees, international students, women, people of color, members of the LGBTQIA+ communities, who are all being targeted by this regime. And let me say that again, by this regime. It is not an administration, it's a regime. We have to stand shoulder to shoulder, like they did back in the day, to fight for our basic rights. This is a time like none other in our history. Let us summon our collective courage during these moments when we may feel a loss of hope some days, and I feel that way sometimes when I'm fighting the fight. We've been here before. We know how to sustain our democracy. It's what our ancestors taught us. My grandmother came here as an orphan from Torreon, Mexico, and was in the foster care system and ended up being a maid instead of a foster child. My other grandmother worked in laundries. They both worked in the fields in Tulare County. And so they taught us how to do this, how to fight these fights. And so it's part of our very being, it's part of our soul to engage in this fight. And I wanted to end my thank you, number one to I thank my mother and my husband who, stood by me while I tried to, run for office a few years ago and finally become the first Latina in the Board of Supervisors, but I didn't quite make it there, but we will make it there, and Chanel is there, thank God. So we need to keep fighting to be in those places and at that table. But I wanted to end this evening with the Unity Clap, which was a clap that was really developed between the Latino farm workers and the Filipino workers, and there was language barriers between them. But that was one way that they all got their message across to each other at the end of their meetings, I imagine. And so if you would all stand, I would like you, and Paul, if you can help me with the unity cap. All right, ready?
Not ready.